Folks, welcome to Movie News Monday, where every single Monday, live on Twitch, we cover everything going on in the world of entertainment. We're talking movies, television, MCU, DCUs, all the U's, you know what it is. So go ahead, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe so that you can come back and learn a little bit more. And if you're watching live on Twitch, say hi to YouTube, everyone, as we jump into our first story of the day. Ryan Coogler's Proximity Media is producing an Animorphs television show. That's right, folks. The thing you didn't ask for, but the second you heard it come out of my mouth, you were fully on board. We are getting a Ryan Coogler produced Animorphs television series in development at Disney+. So let's break this down. We have Bayan Walcott attached to write and executive produce, with Ryan Coogler, Zevahanian, and Zinzi Coogler all executive producing through Proximity Media, which is Ryan Coogler's production company. They have an overall first look deal with 20th Century Television, which is the branch of television development over at Disney that produces content for Disney Plus and Hulu and all of their, streaming and delivery mechanisms. If you watched our stream a few weeks ago where we talked about the new corporate leadership structure at Disney, you would understand what it means to have a first look deal with 20th Century Television. But Animorphs is coming possibly to television. We're still early in development, so it's being written, it's being put together. It's not quite official yet, but it's very possible. Now, if you've never heard of Animorphs, I'm sure you've seen one of these covers at a Scholastic book fair or a fever dream of your life at some point. But the premise of the Animorphs is a group of teenagers uncover a hidden threat lurking beneath their everyday lives, all while juggling relationships, curfews, and the chaos of high school. So long story short, kids discover alien threat, and they gain the ability to turn into animals. And of course, it is depicted by the, the morphiest morph you can ever imagine. Hold on, should we look at a couple? Y'all, these are unhinged in the best way. We got Horseboy over here. We got, what is this, a fish? Oh my god, the owl. The random transition is rough. Yeah, imagine all this as a practical effect. That'd be great. Here's Squid Girl. Fans of Dropout recognize Squid Girl. In either case, so Animorphs is being developed into a series. They have plenty of source material to work off of. There were 54 main books in the Animorphs series from 1996 all the way to 2001. The writer of the series, Walcott, has worked on The Testaments over at Hulu. He also worked on The Summer I Turned Pretty and American Crime Story. Should this series move forward, this would be the second time Animorphs was made into a TV show. There was a live-action series in Nickelodeon back in 1998. And chat, I would love if you would allow me the opportunity to experience for the first time with you an Animorph from 1998. Ah! Okay, that's great. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted. Sean Ashmore. My face when the Buffy the Vampire reboot doesn't get greenlit, but Animorphs does. So chat, what do you think? Are you excited for an Animorphs reboot? What animal, if you could Animorph into any Animorph, I have said Animorph so many times, it's not a real word. If you could be forever trapped in a transitionary period of an Animorph, which one would you want to be in? Would you like to be boy with big nose? Or boy with two big noises? feel like anything with wings wouldn't be the worst. I want to be animorphed into a meerkat. I don't know why. That just spoke to my soul. EGOT in the making, Lin-Manuel Miranda is set to return to the director's seat. Lin-Manuel is going to be directing the film adaptation of Octet, I believe is what it's called. Octet. This is a musical that hit the scene a few years back and was fairly beloved, and Dave Malloy, the original writer of the show, is partnering with Lin-Manuel Miranda to bring it to the big screen. Octet was a musical that follows strangers in an internet addicts support group, which very interesting. It is also, I'm trying to find the wording here. I believe it is also an a cappella musical, so it does not have an accompanying orchestra. Very curious to see how that will play out in the big screen. But in either case, Lin-Manuel Miranda said, "I haven't stopped thinking about Octet since I saw Annie Tipp's premiere production in 2019. Dave Malloy's score is versatile, brilliant, and grows more relevant with each passing year. It won't leave me alone, so here we are." Malloy, like I mentioned, is going to be writing the screenplay and will be serving as an executive producer. Very excited to collaborate with Lin-Manuel, who he was utterly gobsmacked by his work on Tick, Tick, Boom. Now, I like Tick, Tick, Boom. I don't think that that's a hot take by any mean. I think Tick, Tick, Boom was a very respected and liked musical. It did well in the awards season. There was really, really strong consideration that Andrew Garfield was actually going to be, one of the standouts in the awards season. Obviously, he ended up not taking home the big prize that year. That being said, Lin-Manuel, I think, is an incredibly talented person. I know that a lot of the people on the internet have a certain distaste for him, and frankly, I don't know where it comes from. I think he's a perfectly fine and talented person, and I'll be excited to see him direct again, because why not switch it up and make your resume a little bit more broad. That being said, too, Lin-Manuel is just an Oscar away from an EGOT, so if he does a really good job directing this movie, hey, there's still a chance. I did also want to shout out this eagle-eyed Twitter account that when this news dropped about Lin-Manuel adapting Octet, he mentions, this Twitter user mentions, "I'm remembering that Lin had called Rachel Zegler about 10 times, but she passed his calls for whatever reason. Then just a few days ago, she reveals that one of her upcoming projects is a musical movie that she can't reveal yet. And they just announced that Lin is directing a film adaptation of Octet, which could mean, do we also have our next Rachel Zegler movie lined up? I would love that to be the case. I think that Rachel is a phenomenal actor, and knowing very little about Octet, small cast, would require some big talent. It's a very sort of bottle episode style production, as far as I'm aware. Bottle meaning that like it doesn't really go anywhere. It's like single stage, single adaptation. That being said, Tick, Tick, Boom in its original conception was just a small bottle show. Obviously, the stage production adapted, and so thus did the movie. But I'll be very curious to see this come into fruition. So Lin-Manuel, all the best to you. We'll see how it goes. Let's talk about Paramount. That's right, chat. The ever rewarding thing to discuss, this Warner Brothers merger, just continues to be the most complicated and frustrating thing going on in the world of entertainment right now. Wall Street Journal reported that what had originally come out regarding the hostile takeover that Paramount was trying to put up against Netflix in their hunt of owning Warner Brothers Discovery was something that I even brought up in my stream a few months ago when we were looking over the details of that deal, that several Middle East funds were interested in backing the takeover of Warner Brothers via Paramount. And now the Wall Street Journal reports that the Middle East has worked its deals to commit to helping the Ellisons. So it is close to $24 billion from 3 sovereign wealth funds led by Saudi Arabia that will be helping with Paramount's takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund has agreed to provide roughly $10 billion, and then Qatar Investment Authority and Abu Dhabi's Limad Holding Company will be filling out the additional $14 billion. What is happening? What is happening? Why are the sovereign funds of Middle Eastern companies interested in helping the personal friends of Donald Trump purchase one of the largest media companies in the world? Warner Brothers just walked away with a sweep at the awards season with One Battle After Another, and with Sinners, they walked away with a sweep at the box office with things like Superman and Sinners again. Yeah, Saudi Arabia, huge fans of Landman. They love the Taylor Sheridan universe that Paramount Plus has created. Obviously. Some details about this deal, which is set to possibly close today, this Monday. The Gulf investors won't have any voting rights in the new Paramount Warner entity. The deal isn't expected to trigger a mandatory review by the Committee on Foreign Investments in the U.S. because of course not. Of course not. Why would it? So that's where we are. That's the latest with this deal. Obviously, we are still months, if not years, away from this being finalized and official, but rest assured, when you're wondering who paid for this and why is this happening, well, on top of the facts that David Ellison's dad, Larry Ellison, owns Oracle and owns TikTok now and owns everything, they are not shy with doing business with countries that take no issue in, killing reporters when they are getting too close to the truth. But hey, that's why they're buying CNN, I suppose. We'll see, folks. We'll see where this lands. Hey, why don't we keep the good news train rolling? And, Louis C.K. is back in business with Netflix. Come on, man. What are we doing? Louis C.K., the disgraced comedian, is back into the good graces of Netflix, I suppose. The comedian is going to be headlining a show at the Hollywood Bowl as part of Netflix's A Joke Festival. And his upcoming special, Ridiculous, is going to be premiering on Netflix this summer. Now, in case you maybe have a bad memory or you don't recognize who this formerly redhead, now very gray, he's had a couple stressful years, comedian is, Louis C.K. was a very huge comedian. He had a wildly successful sort of self-satirizing show on FX, as well as some very massive comedy specials. And Louis C.K. also masturbated in front of women or on the phone with them. Louis C.K. admitted to the behavior, but he thought it was okay because he asked them first. He did not specify that most of the time that he asked, the women's answers were, no, that's fucking crazy. Don't do that. Yet, he did. Louis C.K. called the Hollywood Bowl show the very last show on his tour, which has taken him around the world and will likely be his last full-scale comedy headline type of show for a long time. Folks, we make a lot of guesses on this stream. We tried some predictions with the Golden Globes and the Oscars, and we did okay. And we put some predictions out for the top of the year. And I don't know why, something in my spirit, something in my gut told me that this would be the year of the uncancellations. And unfortunately, it seems to be the case, because you know, it doesn't matter if you have self-confirmed credible allegations of misconduct. You can still be the headliner of a Netflix special and a Netflix festival. It doesn't matter if you have credible, corroborated allegations by dozens of women. You can still get Paramount to pick up your G.I. Joe movie. It doesn't matter if you say harmful things about trans people or non-binary people and make fun of pronouns and say that being a Republican is like being a Jew in the Holocaust. You still get to settle your lawsuits and headline a boxing show for Netflix. So, look, all I can say to actually bring this back around into some sort of positivity, let's get this motherfucker off my screen. To bring it back around to some sort of actual positivity, let me just say this. The work does not stop. And unfortunately, there are going to be people, especially people in positions of power, who get away with it or feel like they get away with it. But it is not up to them to decide that they got away with it. It is up to us. So I will continue with my small platform here to stand up for what I believe is right, to stand up for humanity and empathy and care and leading by example and, you know, not doing disgusting things to people, especially disenfranchised people who are just trying to fucking exist. So, just because you see all these shitty people continue to get opportunities and continue to move on, do not let that deter you. Do not let that fight stop in you. Just push a little harder. Just push a little harder next time, because all we can do is be good, folks. That's the least we can do. Now let's turn it around to some good news, huh? Folks, the WGA, a full month ahead of when negotiations were really set to finish, has reached a deal with the AMPTP. The AMPTP. Look, the WGA had a historic strike after a very tumultuous contract negotiation years ago, and surprisingly, they have closed on a deal before their contract expired. This was super surprising for a lot of folks, and honestly, super encouraging. It seems as though we have all learned the lesson that these strikes had a pretty massive impact, and nobody wants to go through that again. WGA made the announcement that they have reached a tentative agreement that was unanimously agreed by the negotiating committee. These new agreements protect their health plans, builds on gains, essentially royalties that writers get from streaming, and helps address free work challenges. Not included in this, but I did look up some of the other details. This deal does also help protect against AI, and specifically having AI read or train itself on writers' scripts, which is a huge deal, especially considering the very frustrating crash out that I had last week regarding AI startups like Quilty that are looking to take the human element out of reading scripts. The AMPTA seemed to like the tentative agreement. They will be pushing this out to a vote to the rest of the WGA, and if it works out, we're going to have a deal. We're going to have a deal, and we're going to be in a good position well ahead of our due date, and we don't have to worry about another reaching halt in the entertainment industry due to a strike, at least on the WGA's front. Another notable thing about this deal is that it is a 4-year deal as opposed to the standard 3-year deal. Maybe it's to make up the difference for the strikes that happen. Maybe it's some of the confidence that they're instilling in this negotiation. But in either case, this is a good first step. And of course, their fellow strikees from last contract negotiations, SAG-AFTRA, did put out a statement congratulating the WGA on their deal. And they are actually, reportedly as of a couple hours ago, back to the negotiating table earlier than expected as well, seeing that the AMPTP was quick to accept a deal with the WGA. SAG-AFTRA is looking motivated and back to it. So hopefully we have a deal signed and people working and protected and having health care and making the stuff that we love to watch. So hey, good job out there, WGA. Best of luck out there, SAG-AFTRA and DGA, which I know is also in negotiation. And while we're talking about unions and union support here in the entertainment industry, we got to talk about what's happening with the Jonathan Majors Daily Wire movie that's filming right now. So if you don't know, Jonathan Majors, of course, the actor who had an explosive year that came to a screeching halt after he pled guilty to assaulting an ex-girlfriend, lost his Marvel deal, lost a lot of opportunity, and is back onto a production now for a movie by the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's production company. You don't know Ben Shapiro, the right-wing political commentator who was a failed screenwriter in Hollywood, so he instead created a persona of a right-wing grifter and is now a millionaire because of it. In either case, what's happening on the set, other than them giving a platform to a canceled artist who is now back leading movies, is that there have been some concerning allegations of what's been happening on their set, and specifically the IATSE union, which is the International Artists... Oh gosh, I should know what IATSE stands for. IATSE is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. So this is the union that a lot of the day players and below the line workers within a production are affiliated with. So these would be like your grips and your production assistants and your lighting technicians and people like that. We did previously hear that IATSE called a strike against the production back in March 26 over a series of labor issues. Producers have not denied the allegations, but when they were reached out to for a comment, they said they don't negotiate with communists. That was their statement in regards to a strike order being put in place on their production. And following some of these allegations, we recently saw a video in which Jonathan Majors and co-star JC Kilcoyne tumbled out of a window while filming a scene. A window pane had been replaced for a stunt that was going to be happening later in the production, and that glass was not properly fixed in place. It was just shoddily leaned over the window. So during the filming of the scene, which you can see on screen now, the actors fell out of the window, and you can actually hear the impact and hear people panicking as it happens.
Yeah. Good. I'm good.
So the tempered glass and the actors fell, and this required Kilcoyne to get stitches all over his hands. And staffers on the set talked about how the fact that they showed up and nobody mentioned anything about people falling out the window, and nobody warned anyone that there had been an injury on set, specifically an injury to their two lead actors. There have been a lot of corroborated incidents, including props falling onto crew, including a tree branch that hit the set medic, of all people to be struck by a falling branch. Crew have also confirmed that there have been no meetings with department heads or with the writer-director ahead of complex stunts or use of firearms. A crew member who's been in the industry for decades said that there's no normal production activities. You can't find anybody. You don't even know who they are. There's apparently had to be a black market crew list that is being passed around so that the people who are working on this set can actually know who it is that they're working with. Other instances have involved a production location that was infested with black mold, and the producers insisted it was totally fine to film in, although staff had also discovered that it's very possible that the building was constructed with asbestos and needed to be tested. And ultimately the crew discovered the mold on their own and they refused to work on the site. Another crew member said they don't care about the long-term effects of the crew. I don't think it even crossed their mind because of how inept they are. The writer, director, and producer of the film said the entire industry is in free fall due to strikes, and now that their members are out of work, they're trying to sabotage the few people who are still producing. We don't negotiate with communists. We are too busy being badasses, blowing shit up, flying helicopters, and killing movie terrorists to concern ourselves with 4 assholes with signs on the sidewalk and their illegitimate strike. So, as a reminder, we have a failed screenwriter who has become a grifter to conservative online media, who has started a production company in which he is explicitly hiring disgraced actors to star in these movies, hiring crews and putting them in unsafe circumstances, putting your actors in unsafe circumstances, and now overtly calling out the unions for being communists when they are using their well-earned right to protest and strike against a production. What else is there to say other than the facts? I hope to see more crew members and more unions like IATSE, WGA, SAG-AFTRA, which this is a SAG-AFTRA sanctioned production, so keep that in mind. Usually when one union strikes, the other is supposed to respect that. We'll see if that's the case here. But in either case, look, every production, regardless of who they're affiliated with, deserves safety. All crews should be protected, regardless of their political opinions, regardless of their... And look, this is even tough for me to say, but I was just preaching about continuing the positive push here, regardless of their past and whatever they've done, even though some people, in my personal opinion, are beyond, recognition for certain things. Nobody deserves to be in unsafe working conditions, especially not the people that have absolutely nothing to do with some of these big stars and these big actors and these production companies. Look, I understand the film industry is a gig economy, and it is a gig economy that has been drying up. So if you're an IATSE member, if you're a grip, a lighting technician, whatever it may be, and you're just looking for work, if you're a makeup artist, if you're a weapons handler, whatever your job is, if you're trying to show up and get paid and put food on the table and get your health care, like, absolutely show up wherever you need to show up. But wherever you show up should be a safe environment for you and everybody else. And that's all I gotta say there. Marvel fans, rejoice. We won big with our Wonder Man Season 2 announcement recently, and we might have another Season 2 to look forward to. On the Escape Pod, Brad Winderbaum, president of Marvel Television, dropped this little exclusive negative
there's so much
news,
stuff I'm working on that I want to talk about.
Right.
I don't think it's a spoiler, but like I saw the first animatic of the first episode of Marvel Zombies Season 2. It was like it was crazy. It was like,
so that was Brad just casually dropping that not only are they developing a Marvel Zombies Season 2, they are also in the animatics phase. So they are currently in production on Season 2. So expect to see more of Marvel Zombies very soon. This is super exciting on many fronts. I think Marvel Zombies is a very fun, new way to experience the Marvel Universe. If you're not a fan of the MCU, you can totally jump into this just because it is very fun and interesting storytelling that uses the characters in a very unique way, in a rated R way, which was not expected initially and is very welcomed in the show. And it did also end in a cliffhanger. So thankfully, we'll be able to see where things go from here. But folks, that is going to wrap up the Movie News Monday section of our broadcast. If you're watching live, thank you so much for stopping by and being a part of the conversation. Do not go anywhere, because following our Movie News Monday, we are going to be finding what is the best year of cinema. We're looking over the last 30 years of movie releases and identifying which one is the greatest. If you're not watching live, hey, what are you doing? It's free. Twitch.tv youtube.com/Jupigorg. Every Monday at 8:30, you'll find me right here. But if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to watch our content in short form, check us out on Instagram and TikTok. But otherwise, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you at the movies. Bye, YouTube.